You've just been listening to the dawn chorus in my back garden, and this virtual nature tour, I want to talk about some of the most familiar songbirds you'll hear in the garden. It's mid-March is a really good time to listen to your resident birds and get used to the songs. You can often make up a rhyme for them, and then of course as you go for a local walk you can then recognize songs of other birds. You may not know what they are, but you recognize they're different, and then later on as we come into April we start to get our summer visitors, and again you'll pick up that they sound different. There's been a robin calling. I think earlier on there was a wood pigeon, and I can hear a blackbird right at the back and a crow. And so I'll be going through some of the different songs and how to recognize them. What we have singing here is the wren. Very fast, what I call spirally song. It varies the pitch, so if it's spirally song, do beware of the very fast but constant song of the dunnock. The wren is our most common breeding bird, 11 million pairs, up 6.5 million in the last 50 years, incredible. One of the reasons it's so common is it's found from suburban gardens, woodlands, right out to moorland and offshore islands, including St Kilda, which is our largest subspecies of wren. Now we're very familiar with the wren, very popular garden bird. One of our smallest, not quite, it's the goldcrest is our smallest. But it's actually called the Eurasian wren, and there's only one species of wren in the old world. Wrens are actually a New World family of about 88 species across 19 genera and 19 different groups, but one made it across to the old world. And in places like Australia, things like fairy wrens are completely unrelated, but named fairy wren because they resemble a wren. Do get used to the lovely loud spirally call of the wren, and do distinguish it from the fast constant call of the dunnock. What we have singing here, if it keeps on singing, this is the dunnock or hedge sparrow. Oh, the dunnock just flew off. It's a shame, it's great to hear the song of the dunnock from the top of my pear tree. They often sing from cover. Cover is so important for dunnocks. You find them in gardens and parks with ground cover, but directly a garden or a park is too ornamental. When there's no ground cover, you will not get your dunnock. So do remember, ground cover for dunnocks and for wildlife in general. Also known as the hedge sparrow. It's not a sparrow, it's actually a species of accenter. It has an insectivorous bill. Someone came up with a great idea, let's call it hedge accenter. Sadly, people didn't like that idea. I thought it was a great idea. So think of it as a dunnock, not the hedge sparrow. It's about our 8th most common breeding bird, about 2.4 million pairs. But what's really important is to recognize the very fast, constant song of the dunnock. It doesn't have a pause or a change in pace. Very fast and constant, in contrast, for example, to the spirally call of the wren. So it's a very good benchmark to compare to other species, particularly when our summer visitors turn up of various species of warbler, and it's very easy to confuse the constant fast song of the dunnock with a range of other species, or vice versa. For example, the whitethroat, when it turns up, has a more scratchy song, whereas, for example, the blackcap has a slower, more relaxed song. but it's very easy to get caught out by the song of the dunnock. So do use this as a benchmark, because it's very fast song without pause or change. What you can hear there is the chirp of our house sparrow. Obviously one of the most popular of our garden birds, but as I've mentioned, the previous nature tour is serious decline. It's a red list species, seeing a decline of over 50% over the last 25 years. It's actually seen a decline since 1970 of over 65%. But the very typical chirping of the house sparrow. What we have here is a robin. Very curious, he's singing as well. But he's very curious because I've been doing some gardening and he's coming down to check us out. So you can see if he's going to sing again. It's very curious. Our second, hear that song? Usually a bit longer than that. It's a very happy song. Sings all year. But it's a sadder song in the winter. It's very slow, relaxed song. Beware of confusing it with the blackbird, which is more melodious and fluty. And the robin's been described as quite a watery call. Imagine a slow flowing brook. In some places the brook's flowing faster. In other areas it slows down as it goes through a slack. So it's relax. I think it's like someone happily whistling as they are going to work. Think of that for the robin. It's our second most common breeding bird, about 7.5 million pairs, just behind the wren. And I think he's trying to come back to check out where I've been clearing my compost heap. It's a nice sunny afternoon, and what you can hear, that very slow, melodious, fluty call is, song, not call, is the song of the blackbird. It's our fifth most common breeding bird, equal fifth with the chaffinch at about 5 million pairs. Do beware of the more watery sound of the robin, which is also a relaxed song. So do get used to distinguishing between the two. They're often sing throughout the day and in the evening. The other interesting thing about the blackbird with that song is in the outbreak of World War II, on the Sunday the 3rd of September 1939, Neville Chamberlain was going to make an announcement to the British public on the radio at 2 o'clock. So everyone was expecting this. It was a nice summer's day, lots of people mowing their lawns, but as you got closer to 2 o'clock, the lawnmowers gradually became silent as people went indoors at 2 o'clock, and then after that time, at 2 o'clock, all you could hear was the sound of the blackbird. can hear. To me it sounds like someone moving a gate with a rusty hinge, squeaky gate. It's actually the song of the great tit. Some people think it's going teacher, 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 teacher. That's another way to remember it. Sometimes it's a 3-note call. Sometimes if it's really fast it can be confused with the coal tit, which tends to go witchu, witchu, witchu much quicker, but it can be confused with the great tit, and the coal tit will breed in conifers. And the great tit is our 10th most common breeding bird, about 2.5 million pairs. And apparently recent research has found, for example, most birds, if you play a song of a bird in its territory, it will come down to defend its territory. So if you play, normally if you play the song of the great tit in that territory will come down to investigate. However, if you play this song of an urban great tit to a rural great tit, apparently it will not react to the call. So it's something of interest there. But remember, teacher, 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 or the squeaky gate. I've been waiting for this wood pigeon to sing, but it's not been very helpful. So I'm going to play the call in the background. You're going to hear the wood pigeon, also the teacher, teacher, teacher call of the great tit. So here we go. So notice that stress on the 3rd and 4th note. Cuckoo, coo, cuckoo, cuckoo, coo, cuckoo. It's likened to the pigeon saying, "My foot hurts Betty. My foot hurts Betty." Sometimes it goes on for longer than 5 notes, and then it's likened to the pigeon saying, "Get you naked and get in here. Get you naked and get in here." So whichever way you want to remember it is, particularly I think "My foot hurts Betty" is a good way to remember it. It's our 5th most common bird the 4th most common bird at 5.2 million pairs, just behind the house sparrow, but in terms of biomass by far the largest in number, biomass of almost 5,000 tonnes. So it's just flying off, but just play the call once more so you get used to it. I do hope you enjoyed my introduction to some of our garden songbirds. What I want to do now is just go through some of these songs I've played to you, go through them again, and also some additional songs I didn't have a chance to record in my garden. These are from my on my computer. You can download some really good songs on your computer to remember the songs, and you can also have some really good apps for your smartphone, so when you're in the field you can actually, if you hear something, you can then listen to the recording on your phone to see if it's the same bird you assume it is. It's obviously, I've been playing the songs and they can be quite distinctive to a species, sometimes more confusing. There's also the calls. In addition to the territorial song, you have communication calls and alarm calls, etc., some of which are distinctive, others are more difficult to tell apart. I've got a squirrel somewhere making a noise. So first one I want to play is the wren. This very spirally fast song tends to spiral. What you got to be careful of is the other one with a very fast song is the dunnock. Very fast but constant. Much more constant than the wren, but I think the dunnock out of all our songbirds is the one. It sounds like a buzzard in the background in this recording. It's very easy to confuse it with a range of other songbirds, particularly when some of our warblers turn up. Now the dunnock singing in the background in response to my song. Now I'm going to play the relaxed song of the robin. It's very relaxed, likened to water going down a brook, where it's faster in some places, slower in other places. It's very relaxed, very happy this time of year. It's heard throughout the year, and not the dunnock singing behind me as well. It's sadder in the winter. Then we have the very relaxed, mellow song of the blackbird. Lovely mellowy song, very relaxed. Still have our dunnock singing in the background as well. The one I haven't played is it does come and visit my garden. They're doing okay in woodlands and commons, but they've really decreased in gardens, and they're a red list species. A decline of over 50% over the last 25 years is a song thrush, thanks to all those slug pellets. So please stop using chemicals in your garden, please. Song thrush is an amazing song. Very loud. Often repeated phrases. I think it goes cherry do, need it, cherry do, need it, need it. But it can also mimic a lot of other species, so it can get confusing. And it sings like this even late at night, so that's where people confuse it with the nightingale. And a pheasant was calling in the background there. Then of course house sparrow with a happy chirping call. I can hear from this recording this was made along the, must have been along the coast, because I could hear various waders in the background. Happy chirping sound of the house sparrow. And it has decreased by 65% since 1970 because of over-tidy gardens, nowhere for them to nest, and probably again the impact of herbicides and pesticides on their immune system. Another species which it's still in the top 10 garden birds seen, but it's not in the top 10 of breeding British birds. It's fallen out of the top 10, is the starling. It's actually seen a breeding decrease of over 80% in the since 1970. Incredible. Again, probably a lot to do with all those home improvements, nowhere for them to nest. And the common starling has this lovely whistles. Again, you'll be very familiar with this. And again, the house sparrow. So the starling, like the house sparrow, has seen a decline, but particularly significant decline. Obviously we get huge numbers in the winter, but a lot of these come over from the rest of Europe during very cold periods. Another one which it's the 5th most common breeding bird, along with our blackbird. In fact, both wren and dunnock singing around the back at the moment. Is about 5 million pairs is a chaffinch, equal 5th with the blackbird. I haven't got any in my garden. Oh, there's some birds coming down to the bird feeder.
they've been rare in my garden recently, and they think rather like the greenfinch, the chaffinch in very recent years has suffered from disease, possibly from bird feeders. So do remember to clean those bird feeders. And here's the chaffinch now. It's coming up. That final flurry, it's likened to someone bowling, but overarm bowling. So they run up in that final flurry. It's a way to remember the chaffinch. I'm hoping they will reappear in my... I've been cleaning my bird feeders, but both the greenfinch and the chaffinch have been doing very well in suburban gardens. Goldfinches have been increasing. And next is the great tit, played earlier. Remember, teacher, 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 or squeaky gate. And as I reminded everyone earlier, do be aware of confusing it. The coal tit, which does breed in the conifers at the back here, has a much faster call. Widgew, widgew, it's like a very fast squeaky gate. But do be aware, sometimes great tits can sing quite fast. So remember to try and tell the difference. The other one I didn't have a chance to play in my garden. Now the great tit has just responded. They're hearing the cause of what I'm playing and probably responding. You've got to be careful of playing calls in a bird's territory. It's now sort of frowned upon if you go out into the field and play it a lot, because obviously it can hassle the birds, and it's particularly frowned upon if you do it in bird reserves. Now I'm going to come to the blue tit, which is I think our 7th most common breeding bird. I think it's about 3.7 million pairs. And what's interesting with the blue tit, it's the song of the blue tit, but actually the song sounds more like a call, if you get my meaning. And the final two I want to talk about is, there's one was calling earlier as I was going through the earlier calls. Is a common wood pigeon. My foot hurts, Betty. My foot hurts, Betty. Although some people think if it goes on for longer, it's saying get you naked and get in here. The final one I want to talk about is a dove which we get in our gardens now. It's in many areas as abundant as a wood pigeon in our gardens, and it's the Eurasian collar dove. I think it's saying, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Compared to the Dunnock sing in the background, compared to the 5-note song of the wood pigeon. Now what's interesting, there were no collar doves in the UK before, I think it was 1952 or 1953, I'm not quite sure, early 50s. They'd never been seen in Britain before then, and now they're really common. And what really frustrates me is, I'm very nerdy, you don't want to take me to the cinema because I'll keep pointing out things aren't correct with what birds are, or animals are featured in a film. And for example, you get lots of period dramas set in Britain. It may be about Henry VIII in Tudor times, or one of those sort of 18th century films is a Pride and Prejudice type film with this sort of dashing hero, the lady with the heaving bosoms, and you get in the background and I go, this is inaccurate, there were no collar doves in Tudor times. And obviously a lot of people say, Kevin, just be quiet and listen to and watch the film. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the the songbirds, and I do stress is the robin I can see here. I've had the robin and dunnock and wood pigeon I've been hearing, and great tip is get used to the songs of the birds in your garden and on local walks, and obviously as we come out of lockdown you'll start to recognise more on your as you explore further afield, and hopefully as you come on some of our Nova Caledonia tours around the UK. Thank you.